This is Duke University.
Global trade and environmental justice.
Human rights issues are still.
The term Ubuntu.
The Alien and Sedition Acts.
Is making inferential discovery.
The importance of an archive.
The John Hope Franklin Center.
And I want to draw attention to how the lingua franca of rights and democracy makes struggles in the Middle East and the Muslim world, and most recently the Arab world, intelligible and acceptable to the West. The mode of expression, which has been largely digital capitalism in the most recent revolutions, the language of Macintosh, Google, Facebook, BlackBerry, and Twitter, has helped shape this message as much as the movement. We must ask ourselves how similar calls to uprisings against tyrannical government have been voiced in the language of jihad, because this has been one of the most important definitions of jihad of the 20th century, is struggle against unjust government and tyrannical rule. But such a movement would have never survived the opprobrium of Western governments, the international community, and its governing bodies. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our invited keynotes, to Professors Arzu Alsanu, Laila Abdul-Ghad, Abdullahi Naim, and Sherman Jackson. We also have several distinguished guests here today. Professor Mohammed Fadl from the University of Toronto, who's also written on this topic a lot. Professor Hassan Ahmed, the Dean of Faculty at Khartoum University. Mashair Ahmed, Director of Society Studies in Khartoum. And Omar Al-Khair Ibrahim, Executive Manager for the Sudan Center for Democracy and Development. I would also like to extend thanks to all those people and academic units that have put so much effort into making this happen, especially to Kelly Jarrett, Associate Director of DISC, and Kimberly McCrae, the Program Manager for and I want to thank them for all their support. But I also would like to support all the academic units that have contributed to this, which is my own department, Asian and Middle Eastern Studies, the Duke and UNC Consortium of Middle Eastern Studies, the Center for Muslim Life, Duke Islamic Studies Center, the Trent Foundation, the Makowski Family Endowment and the Department of Religion, the Muslim Student Association, and the Program in Women's Studies. But most importantly, I would like to thank the Duke Human Rights Center and its Executive Director, Robin Kirk, for the support she has shown this project. Dr. Kirk, who will give the opening remarks now, is a scholar, human rights activist, and award-winning poet who served as a consultant to the Greensboro Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She has also written or co-authored 12 reports for Human Rights Watch, as well as written 2 books on human rights in Latin America, More Terrible Than Death and The Monkey's Paw. I introduce Robin Kirk.
I'm a cyborg, I think, with this thing. Thank you very much, Ellen, and welcome to all. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be asked to just briefly give a couple of remarks to open this conference. Like most of you, I imagine, I sort of feel like I'm living between 2 worlds. The world of my life and the world of what's happening now in the Middle East, checking in constantly to find out what are the updates on events that are unfolding in Tunisia, Bahrain, Morocco, Egypt, Jordan, and this morning, Libya. Through that very unsteady screen window of Al Jazeera English, I am peering into one of the most remarkable social upheavals of my lifetime. In fact, I spent some time this week, I had to upgrade my operating system and lost the video feed to Al Jazeera, so I had to spend like an hour trying to figure out how to get it back. I can tell you if that happened to you. I know how to do it now. I'm along with my human rights work, I'm a great reader of young adult literature, and I can't help but compare this looking through the screen of my computer at what's happening live, in Cairo or Alexandria or Benghazi. I can't help but compare that to the Chronicles of Narnia series. People remember from their childhood where, especially in the 3rd book of that series, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the Pevensey children enter the world of Narnia through a picture. They're pulled into this picture as they're in wartime Britain and then pulled into the world of Narnia, this beautiful painting of a sea and a boat on the sea. And I feel that way often when I'm staring at what's going on the other side of the world, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. I was just listening to the radio as I was arriving this morning, wondering what else has happened that is so relevant to the theme of this conference today. I now know that Friday prayers can be the beginning of a huge protest, and lunchtime in Durham can be the spark of gripping fear in places like Tripoli. We are closer than ever, tied in a way that is almost as mysterious as the deep magic that animates C.S. Lewis's world of fauns, snow queens, and talking mice. Now, as I wrote that yesterday, I thought, magic, they're never going to buy that one. But then again, listening to the radio this morning, they had the director of the Alexandria Library talking. And he credited the fact that not a single pane of glass was broken in the library, not a single door harmed, not a single piece of graffiti on the walls of the library. He attributed that to magic. So I think there's a lot of magic going on in the world as part of these protests and part of this particular moment in time. There's also another reason why I cite C.S. Lewis in the context of a conference on human rights in Islam, especially one that, that is happening at this particular moment, thanks to, I must say, Ellen's incredible work. And I wish she would have told us, the reason why she scheduled the conference for this week was because so much was going to be going on in the Middle East. She must have had some sort of secret knowledge. When I was a child, I read C.S. Lewis with a sense of delight and wonder that utterly missed the profound Christian faith that animates his series. Aslan, to me, was a lion, nothing more. But then as a teenager, I was introduced to the series as the kind of shadow puppetry of religion, of Lewis's deep faith and Anglican belief, and therefore detested it utterly. Now, as a writer myself and the mother of two avid readers, I've made a kind of peace with it, born, I hope, of a bit more tolerance as well as an appreciation of the richness of human thought and the tremendous and beautiful vitality of creativity paired with belief and human experience. I encourage you to bring a bit of that appreciation to the conference today, both of the scholarship you will discuss and hear, the piece of human history that Islam represents, and the specific moment that we are miraculously, magically, all living together. Protesters across the Middle East are using rights language and rights tools and rights networks in entirely new but also complexly old ways. We from the outside, me among them, hardly know what we're seeing. That is not only because so many of us in the United States are ignorant about Islam, we're also ignorant about human rights and what that phrase really means. When I teach an intro to human rights here at Duke, I always take a very unscientific poll at the beginning of the class, asking students to write down on a note card their definition of human rights. Next semester I'm going to have them tweeted, I think. So I am trying to keep up with the times. Here are some responses. Basic and essential. The rights we claim as sentient beings. Civil liberties. Irreversible. Transcendent. Undeniable. Equality. There are no wrong answers here, but also no profoundly right ones. Because in fact, human rights itself is a constantly moving target, in some ways more like fiction than any universally agreed upon fact, if there are any. But it is a beautiful fiction, a magic one perhaps, made real by the doing and by the creative melding of human experience. How wonderful in so many ways, how frightening, how exhilarating, how terrifying that this struggle over what rights means in Islam in the Middle East, the power of the rights idea is taking place right before our eyes right now. As you can tell, I throw my hat in the ring on this one. I am for rights, even as a messy, evolving, unclear concept. Like many doers, I am a practical pessimist and an irrational optimist, prepared for the worst and hoping for the best. Hope, that very tricky, very unacademic word. Yet very few who watched what unfolded in Tahrir Square, I think, did not feel that deep primal thrill of hope as a people found a single voice. I know it's not over. Again, listening to the news this morning, a Libyan businessman was talking about what was going on right now in Libya, and there's obviously a real fear that we're going to be seeing a lot of tragedy unfold over the next couple of days, if not hours. But hope that that's not going to happen. And I think hope is something that has proven over the last several days to be extremely resilient. I just want to close by citing another Irishman, C.S. Lewis, having been born in Belfast and raised at the time of Irish independence. And his fellow Irishman, Seamus Heaney, was raised during the Troubles in Ireland. And the atmosphere of the Troubles really populates and informs his written work and his poetry. And I just wanted to read a little bit from Heaney's translation of The Cure at Troy. I think it makes a nice bridge to the beginning of the conference. And this is just a little excerpt where Heaney writes, "History says don't hope on this side of the grave, but then once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a farther shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Call the miracle of self-healing, the utter self-revealing double take of feeling. If there's fire on the mountain or lightning and storm, and a God speaks from the sky. That means someone is hearing the outcry and the birth cry of new life at its term." So thank you very much.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.